Hey, legends, and welcome back. I'm really excited to share this conversation with you today. We sat down with Lori Hatcher Hillier, the CMO of Kicking Horse Coffee. We had a great conversation about all things brand, what it takes to build a brand for 28 years without running an ad campaign, how their fans are getting up and kicking ass every day.
How to find the truth at the root of the story, really respecting the origins of where the brand came from as you cast a vision forward for growth. And we got caffeinated.
We got caffeinated. We also heard, how bold leadership really plays a role in building a brand to last. So this is a conversation you're going to not want to miss. Lori is joining us in October for The Gathering 2025, where we're talking about winning the future together. And you get to get an up close and personal connection with her today.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Lori, thank you so much for joining us. I've been really looking forward to this conversation. We're, of course, looking forward to having you out at the gathering this year. I'm a big Kicking Horse fan, so I've been really excited for this conversation. Thank you for being here with us.
I'm so happy to be here.
I would love if you could share a little bit about the history of Kicking Horse a little bit for those of us that don't know the brand as intimately as we do here, based in Canada. Humble beginnings, started in a garage, and now has grown and expanded so much. Can you share a little bit about the beginning and how the brand has evolved?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I say I have the best marketing gig in the world. So Kicking Horse is what I would say is a disruptor brand. Started 28 years ago in a garage in Invermere, which is a small town in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. Closest airport is 3.5 hours away. And it was built from the ground up from a team that is super passionate about roasting the very best coffee in the world. And so they started by going directly to source, meeting farmers, and bringing those beans back to BC, to Invermere, and learning meticulously how to roast the very best coffee. It's 28 years late. 28 years later, we're still roasting coffee in the exact same place, but the garage is way bigger. It's a brand that's based on purpose and values that believed that they could do good business that gave back to the world. And we still live by those purpose and values today. And so now it's all about taking this little brand and scaling it, because this is a purpose that we think resonates with consumers around the world. And so it's a really, really exciting time to have joined. In the last 6 months, we have launched our very first brand platform, our very first North American marketing campaign. We expanded our coffee into single serve. We've never been in those consumer households before. And we just finished a campaign where we kind of brought Canadian pride around the world. So little disruptor brand in the Rocky Mountains, and we're ready to take on the world.
We need that Canadian pride spread around the world more than ever right now.
The world needs more Canada, right?
Yeah.
And you guys always, like at the cafe in Invermere, I think they always referred to it as the Canadiano. Is that right?
That's right. So yeah, Canadiano for 15 years. The Americano was always called the Canadiano in the Kicking Horse Cafe.
Oh, wow.
And so with this Canadian pride movement that has been growing in the last month, we actually have been really, really blessed that organically and at a grassroots level, Canadians are sharing to try Kicking Horse coffee. And, if you're replacing a US brand, try Kicking Horse. So we had this organic movement where everyone's like, try Kicking Horse is a wonderful Canadian brand. And we said we wanted to give back. We really support the entire industry, and especially Canadian cafes and roasters. So we put up a very simple post. We're like calling on cafes and roasters across Canada, call your Americanos Canadianos. We've been doing it for 15 years. And it hit a moment, what I call an aperture, where kind of the consumer, the brand, and culture connects. And in the last month, the Canadiano movement has gone across Canada. I'm seeing cafes in Toronto, all the way to Newfoundland and Vancouver Island. TikTok, I saw cafes in Vietnam and Mexico doing it.
Yes.
And I think we've 250 million impressions and counting in media around the world. It really hit this moment about, Canadian pride.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we call an act. And Kicking Horse is really focused on acts with consumers when we do our marketing. So it's been really exciting time.
You call it an act, you said?
Yeah, an act.
And
Yeah.
what do you mean by that? Is it like maybe you could just unpack it? Is some form of like collaboration you think of, like some way of inviting them into your story?
We have a few mantras as we're kind of building our marketing craft at Kicking Horse, and one is called acts, not ads. And so the way I define an act, we define the act, is the perfect aperture when the consumer, what the brand stands for, and culture collides. And then you develop an act with a really, really simple idea that speaks to those three things. So again, we saw the movement. It was, from a brand standpoint, it's been part of our roots for 15 years. We knew it would really resonate with our consumers and culture, and we just hit that moment with a simple idea. And so as we're developing our marketing strategies and plans as a purpose-based brand, we're really passionate about acts with consumers and for consumers versus ads. And I actually still really believe in ads that speak to consumers. And so that's kind of one of our marketing philosophies at Kicking Horse. We do acts, not ads. And those are acts with consumers, and they're connected to culture.
That's cool. Very cool. We understand that, first of all, I'm drinking Kicking Horse this morning. I am a fan of the brand. Like, it's been one of my steady sort of grocery staples for probably 15, 20 years. I've never questioned why I'm loyal, but I'm going to question you why your customers are loyal. Like, we reportedly, and the rumors are that you guys have one of the most loyal fan bases in that premium coffee sector on the shelves. Can you just maybe share that with us a little bit? Talk to us about some stories of sort of what you've learned and how you've fine-tuned that as a brand.
I would love to. I have to say that my entire career, I feel like, led me to this moment. I'm going to probably talk a lot today about this concept is the truth is in the roots. And that's how I feel in the year and a half since I've come here. I remember really early in my career, one of my mentors told me that if you know your consumer intimately better than anyone else, you make the very best product for them, and you work to delight them every day, you win. And it was always this formula that I believed in. And when I came here, I saw it in action. It's been in action for 28 years. So you think about, knowing the consumer intimately. They have a cafe, and they've had a cafe for 15 years. So they have people, the best focus group in the world coming in and out of their doors every day. We have a relationship with our consumers that I've never seen before. I'm really blessed. Consumer care is part of my team. And I have never seen the kind of calls and emails that we get from consumers. They know our consumer care people's names, and they have correspondence about it. So we know them very, very intimately. We call them the ass kickers. So, philosophically, our consumers are people who are like going after life, going after passions, and they're waking up and kicking ass every day, which is their purpose. So there's that consumer piece. The second piece is product, and it's so important. I would only call Kicking Horse, the word I use to describe Kicking Horse and product is uncompromising. And it hasn't changed since day one. So when they first started roasting, they went on trips and they wanted to find the best farms and the best beans in the world. Fair trade and organic, doing it the right way, doing business the right way, and actually building long-term community with those farmers and those co-ops. When I met Fair Trade Canada, who is our most valued partner for the first time, they explained to me that Kicking Horse buys coffee like it's a small local coffee shop, like day one, even today. And so our coffee team just came back from source from some of our farms in Honduras, And because they've had long-term partnerships for some over 20 years, the farmers actually evolved their farms and businesses to meet the needs of Kicking Horse because they know we have that long-term relationship and they can make those investments to serve our needs. And so that is just unbelievable if you think about the scale. We're in the grocery shelf, but we're still sourcing coffee in the same way that we did 28 years ago when we were roasting in someone's garage. I'd also say roasting coffee like meticulous. So constantly calibrating every single thing we do to ensure we have the very, very best in-cup experience. And then this concept of like kick-assing and delighting consumers is like in everything you do. So when you open a package, it's like very quietly says, wake up and kick ass. You know, we do Canadiano because it's important to them. And so this intersection of like knowing your consumer intimately, intersection of building the best product and then working to delight them, I think creates loyalty. And you said tell a story. I have a lot, but one of my favorite we're working on right now is that for the last year, there's been a consumer who loves our decaf. We have this award-winning decaf. You would never know it's decaf when you drink it. All our blends, I'm going to ask you what your favorite blend name is, but other blend names are Kick-Ass, Smart-Ass, Three Sisters, Grizzly Claw, like all these unbelievable kick-ass names. Our decaf is called decaf. So this, one of our valued consumers has been emailing us and messaging on social saying, I love you guys so much, but I want a cool name for my decaf.
I love that.
I feel like I'm boring ass. It's not kick-ass.
Right.
And so we actually are working on an initiative with this consumer that will launch soon that is like, let's rename our decaf, guys. It can't just be decaf. We need a kick-ass name for this kick-ass decaf. So those are the kind of things that the brand's always done with consumers and will continue over time to really connect, understand them, and to drive loyalty.
I love that.
That's so neat. I think one of the things we see with the brands and the brand leaders that we speak to is they come to the market with a steady and unchanging personality, and then they just act like a human in every interaction that they have. Like and I think the challenge often is like trying to do that as you scale, as you get bigger and the organization gets more complex. How do you maintain that human relatability of the brand? But it's very cool to hear like, oh, you guys still buy the same way that you did 25 years ago. You still buy like a local shop does when you go to source your product, or you still answer the emails of, a single customer that's buying, a pound every couple of weeks or whatever. Like it's very, those are the attributes that we would look at and say, it's just a consistent line amongst all the greatest brands out there. They find a way to stay in that pocket, know themselves really well, and just don't come to life or don't come to market with multiple personalities.
Lori,
I love what you're saying. Oh, sorry, Mandy.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, can you circle back? It's such it's such a good reminder. The stay connected to your customer part, obviously so important, and being in that intimate relationship with them. And you mentioned like there's all these people that are coming into the flagship and in the store in Invermere, but how do you do that at scale? And how do you continue to stay connected with your customer? And like, what does listening look like for you with Kicking Horse as you're connected with them?
It becomes more challenging at scale. But this is back to the philosophy of knowing your brand champion. So by understanding who our most loyal consumers are, and I don't mean demographically, I mean psychographically. So how do they feel about life in the world? We like I said, we have a consumer. I love what you talk about is brands are human. It's a human persona of who they are from having met them in Invermere and from our roots, what they care for, what they're passionate about, how they approach life. And we know that actually is a large percent of people in the world. People want positivity. They want to do things for good. They want kind of very best quality products. They want to wake up and kick ass. They're the ass kickers. And so the way we do it actually is starting really intimately and then understanding that there's a large percent of consumers in the world that actually have that mindset. And then we go out and find them. And so although we started in the West and very much in the mountains and that spirit of the mountains, uh, which one of the things I call is the spirit of like middle of nowhere. So coming from the middle of nowhere is not only a physical place, it's an emotional place. And that could be somewhere where I am today in downtown Toronto, finding your middle of nowhere and what that means to you. It could be someone in, Newfoundland, in New York City. It could be someone in Australia. We talked to some Australian counterparts and talked about the concept of middle of nowhere. And he's like, oh my God, that surfing culture. Because when you are out on your board in the middle of the ocean, you're not on a mountain, but you're in the middle of nowhere in that spiritual sense. So a lot of the work is really like psychographically, who are these consumers? What do they feel? And then going out to find them, even though it might be not as rooted kind of in the mountains and where we started. So that's one of our approaches.
Yeah, that's cool. Like coffee is such a ritual.
It's a spiritual experience.
Well, it gets there, right? Like anything that you do, like over and over and over, like you run deep grooves in your brain. It sort of does border on that spiritual experience for people. So it's cool.
Addiction, spiritual experience.
Right. It's like a little bit of both, right? But it's cool to think about how that transfers.
Spiritual and emotional, right? And but when you look at coffee in the world of coffee, it's kind of a sea of same. It's like hands holding some coffee beans,
totally.
It's very, very functional and product oriented, but it is, like you said, so spiritual and emotional.
Well, that's something I want to be a part of.
Disrupt that.
Yeah, like that ethos, that's something I want to be a part of. Like when I hear that, like wake up and kick ass, I'm like, absolutely. Like give me my juice. Let's go.
Let's do this.
Let's go. Start the car.
When like 25 years ago, when you guys started sourcing product in a fair trade way, you probably were one of the few that were doing it. And imagine you were probably one of the very few doing it at the level that you were, that the organization was pursuing it at. Now, I think sometimes, things catch on, things become trends, other brands kind of pick it up and they almost buy that little logo mark in the bottom of their package, as opposed to actually try to build that logo mark into the DNA of their brand. I'm curious how you've seen those industry trend, how you guys have continued to take credit for doing good while the industry has been sort of catching up with you, or maybe being perceived as catching up on some of those like fair trade and economic and commercial responsibility pieces?
I think it's a fantastic question, and it's one of our challenges ahead of us. I think what you're saying, and what I believe, is being environmentally conscious and social conscious is table stakes for consumers now. And so, although we were the leader at the beginning, others have caught up, and I'm frankly very happy they have.
Right.
There's a good way to do coffee business, and we want more people to do it. We do things really special and different, and I talked to you about some of those stories. So one of our jobs is to actually tell the stories. To be honest, consumers will buy fair trade and feel better about themselves, but they don't really understand it. And one of the things we're focused on is how do you actually connect with consumers over it with storytelling, not just with the credentials. So make it very real. I mean, you said the word before, human. Make it human for people and the benefits. But we also don't rest on just fair trade and organic. There's a lot of ways to do good business. We're really, really focused on giving back to particularly our community in the Valley, and in Vermeer, of course, but also more widely with NCC and other areas as well. But I think one of the biggest challenges for us as marketing for Kicking Horse Coffee moving forward is get people to really understand and feel and care what it means to be fair trade and organic. I think the other thing is also connecting to their coffee rituals, like you said, because of our long-term relationship with the farms, because we buy coffee at very, very premium grading, a very, very high quality coffee, I personally believe that fair trade organic makes a more kick-ass cup of coffee. It tastes better. And so again, connecting, it's not just good business. You're going to have a way better in-cup experience with a fair trade brand is another thing that we're focused on, storytelling to consumers.
Very cool. Have you gotten a chance to go out to any of the farms yet since you joined?
Not yet. I've had a few invites for next year. And our coffee team just came back from Honduras, and a few months ago they were in Peru. So I cannot wait to get to source and really see where everything comes from.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'd love to say one more thing about kind of the like doing good. We have a belief system on the brand, and it's badass to be good. And so when you talk about table stakes that consumers expect this, a lot of times fair trade organic is kind of treated in the same way. Like we talked about coffee treats product in the same way. It's actually really badass to be good. It's harder, right?
Yes.
They're incredible stories.
Yeah.
So when we're focused on telling these stories, we want to tell it in a way that's on brand. We wake up and kick ass. It's badass to do all this. It's harder, but we do things right. So I think there's a way to also tell that story in a way that's unique for the brand and that will resonate with consumers and people like you, Mandy, when you say, I want to wake up and kick ass, wake up and kick ass. I don't want this like relaxing coffee moment maybe in the morning. Maybe some days.
Some days.
But most days, I probably want to wake up and kick ass. I know I do.
Yeah, that's the fuel.
That's good.
Love it. Lori, when we chatted a couple months ago, you shared the intention that you planted for 2025 with the brand is to be remarkable. I'm curious for you, like, how is that coming to life?
Yeah, we have, that is our big mantra for the marketing team. It is actually one of our values as a brand. But we've picked Be Remarkable. And Be Remarkable for me it's a simple concept, but it's hard to do. And so what it means is that consumers will remark upon you.
Right.
Right? So being remarkable is you get remarked upon.
Yeah, careful what you ask for.
Pardon?
It's like careful what you ask for with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in 2025, yes.
Yeah.
You have to be ready for that. And so what that means for me is very connected to what we talked about before, which is be remarkable by building the best product, knowing your consumers better than anyone else and delighting them every day. It means standing for something, because if you don't stand for something in 2025, you don't really get remarked upon. And this is also connected to the acts, not ads that we talked about. It's not very often that you remark upon kind of the latest ad you saw on TV, but you remark upon an act, someone standing for something, doing what's right, or really uniquely connecting. So that is kind of the mantra for the year. It's going to be a mantra for more than this year to be remarkable, but it isn't necessarily new. So Owen, you were talking about brands as humans, and one of my basically first pieces of work I had to do when I came here was develop the brand strategy for a almost 30-year-old brand. And so we went to the archives, right? We dug up the stories. We met with the people who've been there for decades. We met with the consumers who love us. And I realized very, very quickly that my job was not to develop a new brand strategy. It was to really bottle the magic and the passion and the original purpose that's been in the brand, in the employees for 28 years, and bottle it in a way that consumers will feel.
Yeah,
and so all of that is related to this concept of remarkability. And we also have a challenge where if it's not remarkable, it's not worth doing. So we're becoming very, very ruthless with our work and our creative work. It's not remarkable, it's not worth doing.
Wow.
Love that.
So that is the mantra for the team this year.
I think the temptation often is for new marketing leaders to come into a brand and put their stamp on it. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's a natural, I think, inclination to want to come in and make an impact and drive the business forward. And you obviously come in with ideas and experience and all of that stuff. I think it takes a remarkable amount of maturity to say, there's a good story here already.
Mm-hmm.
And my job isn't to write a new one, it's to surface that. It's to bring it to life in new ways, to bring it to life for new audiences, but it's not to rewrite where we came from. You wouldn't have come to be the CMO for Kicking Horse if it didn't have a good story as well. So there's obviously something that drew you in, and it's kind of about
Hmm.
excavating that and retelling it again and again and again, until you're probably
Yeah.
blue in the face, but your audience is broad and diverse, and they can hear it a bunch of times before they get bored, right?
Love it.
Yeah. My passion is working on purpose-based brands. It always has been since very early in my career. Um, and here it's no bullshit. I literally, you don't make up anything.
Hmm.
It's in the water, it's in the roots, it's magic. So again, when we talked about scaling and consumer, we know that in our brand champions, the biggest brand champions are the employees. They live and breathe the values. We know in the early community, and we know if we get it right and we touch consumers based on the purpose, we keep acting the same way. Just again, doing things more at scale.
Mm-hmm.
We know we can grow, and the hardest part actually is making sure we stay true to those roots.
Hmm.
I think if a CMO had come in and put their own name on it and changed anything, then Kicking Horse wouldn't be what it is anymore. So my job really is making sure, again, the truth is in our roots and keeping us connected to the roots while bringing us to new consumers, new places,
Mm-hmm.
new channels and new categories. Because a brand that wakes up and kick ass deserves to be in those places. And I think the world needs a bit of wake up and kick ass right now. And
Totally.
our platform's called Kickstart Your Heart.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people want their heart kickstarted right now.
Yeah.
And so, again, truth is in our roots. Everything that brought us here will bring us into the future.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I love that so much. It's such a good reminder. Like, just reconnect with the beginning, the beginning threads. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much to learn from that
Mm-hmm.
instead of like the distractions and the trends of now. It's like, go back to why you started, go back to the original mission. There's so much to learn there. So I love hearing the dive back into the archives. I think we can all borrow a page from that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And at the same time, you guys are driving forward, so it's not like business as usual.
No.
You are taking that from the past. You're taking those roots and you're
Yeah.
trying to bring them into like a new level of scale, introducing it to new audiences. So after over 25 years of never running an ad, you guys launched your first national campaign 6 months ago or somewhere around there. Maybe just
Yeah.
run us through it. Like, what were you thinking? Yeah, how
does a brand go 28 years without a campaign?
Without a
also?
campaign, yeah.
Like, please school us in this.
Yeah. We'd love to just hear the story of that.
Sure. And that's the whole concept of scale. And how do you scale? How do you go to scale for the very first time?
Mm-hmm.
So the whole process started with what I just talked about. We needed to articulate really clearly the brand strategy on paper so we could have all the right partners and creative minds working on this brand and doing remarkable things for consumers. So that was the first task. Like I said, the truth is in our roots. So it was bottling basically what the brand is. And then it was, how do we do this? How do we do this? There's so many stories on the brand. There were so many things we could have said. But I have a very strong belief, which I touched on before, that it's about emotional connection. And coffee is emotional, and Kicking Horse is emotional. And we look to the world of coffee, and no one else really does that. It just becomes so functional. Or if there is emotion, there's kind of a sea of theme where it's like your relaxing me time moment. And so when we were briefing like what this could be, the objective was to create emotional connection between the ass kickers and the brand. And that's a wonderful objective for marketers, a wonderful objective for creatives. It wasn't about the product shot. It wasn't about like show cold coffee because that's the big trend. It was create work that makes people feel. And so our launch spot is a spot like you've never seen in coffee, because it's a donkey riding a motorcycle out of the mountains on an adventure. And we wanted that to evoke basically the emotion of the brand, but all of it was very, very intentional. There's a donkey. We're called Kicking Horse Coffee. A big part of the lore of Kicking Horse Coffee is, why are you called Kicking Horse, but you have donkeys? I don't know if we'll ever tell. So it's like some of the lore and the mythology of the brand. So of course we need the donkey riding the motorcycle. You know, why is there Motley Crue? Well, our belief system as a brand is it's badass to be good. So of course it's badass. And it was really an invitation kind of to go on an adventure with us, to wake up and kick ass. And we only see that as chapter one and just the introduction of who we are, but on an emotional level at scale with consumers. And so the platform is called Kickstart My Heart, because it is about kickstarting the hearts of people, specifically our consumers, who are the ass kickers. Give that little jolt, give that kickstart. And then it's really the first chapter of what we see as a story that will come for years.
That's
And
awesome.
It's
was
so good.
Yeah, we've gotten great. It's funny we talk about acts. I actually still believe in ads, in the right ads, in ads that grow the brand and create emotional connection. And so again, that this idea of kickstarting hearts is the true platform. And so I talk about being remarkable. Another thing we talk about is kickstarting hearts. It's the way we work. It's the way we do business. So even when our trucks that truck the coffee from like Vancouver to Invermere and then back across Canada needed a refresh, we're like, we're going to kickstart hearts on highways across Canada. We're going to do the most kick-ass trucks that get attention. And so even refitting trucks, doing displayers, like, how do you kickstart hearts and be remarkable in the grocery aisle? Every single thing we do, all these little touch points, we now have teams like, how am I remarkable when I do that? And how do I kickstart hearts? Even in a displayer, how do I actually have a little emotional connection? That is what we're trying to do.
Does the donkey have a name? Like, does he have like a?
We really thought we were going to get the answer about the donkey today, but you really, my heart's a little broken, but I do kind of like it. I respect it.
I'm leaning in more. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Keep your secrets, but tell us something. Does he have a name?
Yeah.
So the donkey is like a personification of the brand versus a mascot. So at this time, our donkey doesn't necessarily have a name. It has an internal name, and I've worked on other brands that have internal names, and not an outward facing name, because the donkey is kind of the representation of our spirit. Do you think it should?
I don't know. That's so interesting, because and I love that it's an internal name, because names come with a lot of baggage. Some people, right? Like, someone can hear a name and
it's like, oh, it's my ex-boyfriend.
They immediately are like, oh, I dated that guy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, what a jackass.
It changes the experience, right? You don't want that. So I get it.
Yeah. So I guess the other question I have around it would be like, what sort of early results or reactions have you had, or maybe just what did you learn from like going to a new, same story, same persona, same ethos, new channels, new audiences? Were there any like insights that have formed in the last 6 months from doing it?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of the insights now, and we are seeing incredible results on the spot, which is only just one part of it. Really, our objective in terms of marketing KPIs, this is another reason why it's the best gig in marketing. My number one objective is brand awareness and consideration. It's all top of funnel, which is wonderful, and we do it through emotional connection. So we have done, we've seen in-market results, incredible in-market results. So closing development gaps in the East, starting to close that versus the West, in places like Ontario. We have seen unbelievable results from social commentary and social sentiment about the spot. I say you said, I think Mandy, before you said 2025, if you stand for something, you have to be ready.
Yeah.
But it's been universally positive and loved across all different demographics. Never in my career have I had so many people reaching out to me, seeing the work and talking about it, which is so nice to see. And this is with like a smaller marketing budget than other brands I've worked on. And so it's just resonating and making people feel. And then great in market results. We're seeing we're the fastest growing roast and ground brand in Canada.
Wow. Amazing.
We are growing the non-promo business, meaning like there are way more people buying us at full price, not on promo. And we have a direct-to-consumer website, and we're seeing those sales really, I mean, I can only say skyrocket. I mean, year to date, we're up like 60%. And so really like good brand building and connection with consumers drive business.
Wow.
I think as marketers, we all know that, but it's nice to see those results. And then we're on to kind of our acts and what are the next chapters? What are the next chapters of Kickstarting Hearts? You know, Canadiano. Wonderful. I mean, this movement has been this Canadian Pride movement. Again, so blessed that consumers are talking about us as a wonderful Canadian brand to support. And then how else will we kickstart Hearts moving forward?
I love that.
I think the other big thing in terms of what's really driving scale and expansion of the brand, other than the creative, is innovation. So, you know, we've been a brand who for the first, I think, 10 or 15 years, I don't have this completely right, was even just whole bean coffee, right? And then going into ground coffee, but then looking at with what we stand for, with the purpose, waking up in kick-ass, the values and the quality of the product, you know, what are other categories in which we can play in? And so we did just launch into single serve coffee. It's in 50% of households in Canada. So those consumers never had access to quality like Kicking Horse. And to be honest, not a lot of fair trade organic, which is the main reason we went there, to get access to more consumers, but most importantly, to give more consumers access to fair trade and organic.
Yeah.
So good.
So we could support Source. So again, it's the consumer, it's the marketing, but it's also bringing the brand into new households so they can have the experience, a high quality experience that we deliver in new formats. And so we have a team looking at, you know, where else could Kicking Horse play with the purpose, with the commitment to high quality? Where else can we give that experience to consumers? And so that is what we're working on for, you know, the coming years.
I would just say I'd call that out as another thing that like for our listeners, for our audience, there's a distinct difference there where I would say an ordinary, perhaps unremarkable brand would think about moving into a new category and using things like fair trade, organic as their value propositions to convince somebody to buy. It's a very different paradigm to look at a segment of your category and say, those customers don't have access to good. And our mission to be so mission driven that you would say that justifies our approach to that customer group. Like that's an inverted sort of motivation from, I would say, a typical or traditional marketing. You're mission driven in your growth as opposed to growth driven using mission as the carrier, so to speak.
Yeah. It's a true purpose-based brand with purpose at the center of everything. On the new product side, this was an unbelievable experience to be part of with our coffee team when we went into single serve. There was a belief that you could never deliver the in-cup quality experience in single serve as you could with something like, you know, a pour over method.
Right.
And Maddie, who leads the coffee, said, I'm not half-assing it.
I love it.
right? We're going to be remarkable. And she worked to ensure that she could match pour over experience on Kick-Ass and Three Sisters in a pod. And she delivered it.
So
It
good.
took time. It's totally intentional. But she's like, we are not launching into this until a single serve consumer have the exact same quality experience that is worthy of the brand. And it's, sorry, I might be biased, but it is by far the best single serve coffee in the world.
Amazing.
It is an unbelievable experience. You try it. That, I don't know if you guys drink Kick-Ass. It's very bold.
Yeah.
It is so bold. And so this commitment, even as we innovate, yes, very thoughtful about purpose. Anywhere we innovate, it must be aligned to purpose.
Yeah.
Anywhere we innovate, it must be aligned to the product experience, the quality product experience.
So
So
good.
that's
good.
why, like, the truth is in our roots.
Yeah.
Is the truth is in our roots. And back to the brand strategy, it's like we didn't have to create anything. It's all here and always has been.
More people kicking ass, more accessible for kick ass.
Yeah, more people.
Lori, every bold brand, it requires bold leadership. I'm curious for you if you could, and I know culture is so big at Kicking Horse, if you can share a little bit about how leadership has really played a role in Kicking Horse's identity and culture over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I can take very little credit here because, again, purpose-driven company, founder-led, and a company of strong purpose and values that the team and employees have lived from the beginning. But I would love to just share some of the things our team does to build culture that is so unique and like nothing I've seen before. But it all starts with the purpose of waking up and kick ass. So, like, if you're an employee and I said to you, do you want to wake up and kick ass this morning? What would you say? I mean, nobody says no. Our values are be remarkable, don't half-ass it, and do the right thing. And, the beliefs of the badass could be good is just incredibly inspiring and motivating. So as leaders, our job really is to encourage and set up like programs and ways for the employees to live the values and of course personify them ourselves, but it's in the water, so everybody lives it. And I have to give credit to the people and culture team. Again, not HR, right? It's the people and culture team at Kicking Horse and the unbelievable programs they set up over time to really, really let the employees live the values. So how many companies do you know that close down across Canada a day a year for a fun day where all employees go to the mountains and do things like paddle down rivers?
Amazing.
That is something that's been in culture for years. We have a wellness allowance, $750 per employee to take care of their wellness. So the gang in Invermere, a lot of them have like their ski pass for Panorama, and there's people who live in cities. It's like, oh my gosh, you go to the Pilates gym on the company to take care of my well-being. We have things like POW days. If it snows over 50 centimeters, we close down and we're gonna go skiing.
That's amazing.
And like wearing this jacket, these are our badges of kick-assery. So like Donkey on a Motorcycle Club, every 6 months, we actually give out badges to commemorate milestones on the business. So which is a Kickstart My Heart. It was the launch of our platform. Giddy Cup. This was our launch of Single Serve. Marketing, every team has a team badge. And so these are just, when I talk about living values, it's so in the water. But all the leaders for the last 28 years, a long time before I came, have been living it, encourage employees to live it. So it's almost the case where employees have kind of, they own the culture. They lead the culture. So it's pretty special. It's something I haven't experienced before, but like the brand building, like the product, it's like really the truth is in the roots. It's been there from the beginning. So it's pretty special from a culture standpoint. And then I'll connect back to just that brand strategy journey. And the questions you asked at the beginning about consumer, when my team arrived, we had to do the brand strategy. What I would say is the brand actually, although it hadn't been written down, was alive because it was alive in the consumers and the organization. So there was an incredibly powerful brand that came to life in its people. And so again, the job is document in a way that we can make consumers feel that. And so I feel super, super privileged to have joined this team. And from a leadership standpoint, it only becomes easy because everyone's living the values. The entire organization is set up that way. So it's really just the encouragement of the team to live the values and personify it yourself.
I'm feeling so inspired by this conversation to just like go kick ass.
Yeah, totally. It's given me a new level of connection to the brand. Just hearing you talk about it, it's awesome.
Yeah, I need more coffee also.
Yeah, totally.
We've got a couple more questions just to wrap this up, Lori. And I'm just curious if you could paint the picture for us. Like, what's next? Where are we going next? What can we look forward to?
Well, I think, like I said before, I think the world right now needs their hearts kickstarted, some kickstart of people's hearts. So it's really about new categories, new peoples, new places. And so now that we've done the work of defining what the brand, defining product, how do we take it to more people? And so, one example, we talked about single serve. Another example is, until now, really the only place you can have a Kicking Horse coffee is at home. Like, you guys probably brewed it at home and then brought it in. How do we actually give this experience to consumers outside of the home, where half of coffee consumption is now that people are going back to work and post-COVID? So how do you build those brand experiences out of the home? How do you build it in new categories, and potentially categories outside coffee? Right? With the brand and what we stand for, there are categories that might not actually be obvious coffee categories or segments where this brand can play. And so that's what's new for my team. It's how do we bring this brand to new people and places, but we will do it intentionally. When I talk about that single serve example, every single place we go incrementally will be done in a super intentional way.
So good.
That's cool.
We hang our hat on a theme every year for the gathering, and you'll be joining us in October, which we're really looking forward to. Our theme this year is winning the future together. So when I say that, I'm just curious what resonates and what that looks like for you. Like, what does winning the future together mean at Kicking Horse?
Yeah, to me, it's at the end of the day, we want to kickstart more hearts. So it's really creating that emotional connection. That would be winning, creating emotional connection with more consumers, between the brand and more consumers, in some of the ways that I've talked about today. And then back to the concept I've talked about in terms of remarkability. So doing things that matter, that resonate, that connect with people, that people remark upon, are kind of the two ways that I would see us winning in 2025.
Love it.
Love it.
Looking forward to spending time with you in Banff in October. Looking forward for our audience to get a chance to hear this story on the podcast and in person. I think kudos to you and the rest of the team. It is a remarkable journey so far, and looking forward to seeing more remarkability coming out of your brand through this year and the years ahead.
Thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you so much. I cannot wait to attend the gathering and share these stories and learn from everyone there.
Amazing.